The mind is like a chaotic ocean. And when you're looking down at the ocean, you're going to see waves crashing everywhere, just chaos, and you're not going to be able to really see what's going on in the water. What you're really going to be seeing is a lot of the foam and crashing waves. So this is such a good analogy. I love it. But so as all these crashing waves are happening, these are the thoughts that are running through your mind. When you begin to meditate, you're going to notice that it's going to actually be very difficult to quiet your mind. You don't realize how much noise and chaos is running through your mind until you really try to get into a calm meditative state. And as you start meditating, you're going to notice this bizarre thoughts happening, and you're going to realize that it really isn't that easy to get into a meditative state. To quit all the thoughts, make sure all the thoughts are stopped and still, takes quite a bit of practice. But the rewards are off the charts. The rewards for getting to this point and getting to this state are far beyond anything else. So I recommend at least giving this a 3-month try to where you can actually get into a good, deep state. Okay, so you have this chaotic ocean with all these crashing waves and thoughts. The point is to calm the ocean. So how do you do that? Well, as you begin to meditate, and as thoughts, you're noticing all these thoughts coming through your mind, do not focus on these thoughts as they're coming through your mind. You just want to acknowledge them and let them do their thing and go on their way. The more you give a thought any attention, the more it takes hold in your mind, and the harder it is to get into a meditative state. So as the thoughts arise and as they bounce around in your mind, just acknowledge them and let them do your thing. Just relax and don't let these thoughts take you away. And sometimes it's pretty hard, especially if you're dealing with some chaos in your life, or with some problems with a loved one, or with some crazy crap going on at work or whatever. It's very difficult to not want to pay attention to those thoughts, but you have to do it. So as you begin to not focus on your thoughts, you'll notice that the thoughts come less and less and less. And it's at this point where you'll realize that there's a state of consciousness that you can reach that does not involve thought, that is just pure consciousness. And this is a state that you want to reach to really dig deep into who you are, and to resolve concerns and build yourself up into better levels of existence. All right. Has everybody seen Inception? Yeah? All right, so if you haven't seen Inception, I would recommend to go watch that movie, because the concepts that are in that movie are so close to how the mind actually works, and I'll explain why. Whoever wrote that movie must have had a lot of technical feedback from meditative practitioners as well as from psychologists, because the concepts that are taught in Inception are so close to how meditation works and how the subconscious mind works and how to really get into your subconscious mind, that there's no way they could have just made that up. Okay, so first things first. When you get into this meditative state, and when you notice that you don't have these thoughts running through your mind, and when you realize that, aha, I can be conscious without having to focus on any one thought, this is a point to where you can actually start digging into your subconscious mind. So, how does your subconscious mind communicate? Okay, you can't get into a point where, there is no direct communication with your subconscious mind. It's not like you can get into a state where you can face with your subconscious mind and be like, hey, so what's going on with this? How do I resolve this? Why am I like this? The way the subconscious mind works, if you think about it, is through symbolism. When you're dreaming, these are the things that your subconscious mind feeds you for you to understand, and you're receiving information from your subconscious mind. It's not just random sporadic, ideas and processes that your mind's going through when you're dreaming. This is actual symbolism that's being fed to your conscious mind for you to understand what your subconscious mind is trying to communicate to you. I had a dream that I was with a couple friends, and I was in search for the Cave of 1,000 Swords, okay? And as I was looking for this cave, I had this map, and the cave was at the peak of a mountain, and the entrance to the cave was shaped like an hourglass. And I remember somebody said, the entrance to the Cave of 1,000 Swords is shaped like an hourglass. And I just thought, okay, well, I'm gonna go look for this place. Well, as I get into this, I find the cave, and I go into the cave, and it's at the entrance is at the peak of this mountain, and I look down, and it goes down hundreds of thousands of feet, and at the very bottom, there's one sword stuck into the ground, and then another sword with its point perfectly balanced on the first sword, with 1,000 swords perfectly balanced all the way to the very top of the mountain, all the way to the very top of the cave. And this is such a good example of explaining how the subconscious mind communicates. Okay, swords. What are the swords symbolic of? As a culture, swords are symbolic of power, of like, you know, like climbing, of majesty, that kind of stuff. And then the entrance to the cave is the shape of an hourglass. What is the hourglass? A representation of time. Well, obviously the dream means that reaching heights in my life, for me personally, is going to take a lot of time. Like, I can't expect to be something awesome overnight or have my own company overnight. What the dream is telling me is that I need to take the time and realize that it's going to take time to get to a point where I can open my own company and start doing the things that I really want to do in life. Okay, that's how the subconscious mind communicates. So, when we want to communicate with the subconscious mind, how do we do it? Through symbols. That's the language of the subconscious mind. Okay, now, when you get into this deep meditative state, and your mind is clear of all things, this is where the inception thing comes in. And when I saw this movie, I was like, that's awesome that they got it so right on. Okay, so when you get into this blank state of mind, you construct a world. This is a beginner stage, how you start off as a beginner to interact with your subconscious mind. So you construct this world. You'll hear a lot of times in movies and stuff, go to your special place or whatever, okay? That's what you want to do. You construct a world, and that is your special place. As you construct a world, you begin to construct different areas of the world that mean different things, okay? So you might want, well, okay, for me it was an island. And I'm not asking you to use what I use, okay? You should construct your own world, but I'm describing to you how I constructed my world so that you can get a good feel of how to construct your world and how to interact with your subconscious mind. So, for me it was an island. At the front of the island, where I would always start off, there was a giant tree with a little door on it. And inside the tree was a little elf lady, all right? Well, the elf lady was symbolic of my, kind of my oracle, kind of my advice giver, my little containment of where I go to try to solve problems. So she would always be out in her garden or whatever, you know, doing her little thing. And as I would approach her, you know, we would talk about what was bothering me. We're like, well, I'm going through this and this and this and this. And then she would respond. Okay, when you're at that state of meditation, the response doesn't come from you. Okay, it comes from your subconscious mind. So, as you begin to interact with these creatures and beings that you've placed in your world, the information you're getting back is from your subconscious mind. It's like in a dream. When you're in a dream and you're talking to somebody in your dream, okay, you know what you're saying to that person in your dream, but you have no idea what they're going to say. And they just say something. That's your subconscious mind giving you information. So as you interact with these people in your little world, you're actually directly interacting with your subconscious mind. Now this is a more of a beginner, not quite advanced level of interacting with your subconscious. What I recommend is that when you create your world, create several different beings and animals or whatever in places that mean different things. For example, I had the tree where I went to for advice. Okay, when I went down a little road, I got to a little tunnel where I would go in and there's this little Yoda dude, right? Well, this Yoda guy would give me wisdom, okay? He was where I went to receive wisdom. Off the shore, a couple miles off the shore of my island, there was kind of a dojo kind of a place with no roof, and there were two guys there, and one guy had a white face and the other guy had a black face. These guys represented my my internal fight, okay? And one of the guys, it was kind of a fighting platform so that, you know, when I got into the state there would be like little brawls and stuff. But it was a very good way for me to get kind of resolve my inner conflicts that I had within myself. Okay? Now, what I'm about to talk about next is how you get into the secrets, how you get into, in Inception, they use the safe, right? Like they would always construct a safe or a safe spot for people to hide their information. As you do this, your subconscious mind knows what's going on. As you construct this landscape, your subconscious mind knows where to place certain pieces of information. And as you interact with these different pieces of this land that you create, you're interacting with different pieces of your subconscious mind. So, the cave. I call it the cave, okay? This is the bad place. This is the dark place. This is a place where you keep all the deep, dark secrets and all the stuff that you just don't want to face. Well, mine was down along the far side of the island, and there was this big, dark cave. And every time I walked by it, I would just feel the presence in the cave, just this dark, I didn't want to go in there. And it actually took me quite a while before I decided to go inside the cave, okay? As you go in the cave, your subconscious mind knows what to put there. I had several experiences where I would enter the cave and I would actually recall memories that I never knew existed. I would actually recall things that happened to me. There are even a few times where I recalled dreams that I had when I was like 5 and 6 years old. Some of them seemed very trivial, not very influential as to who I was. But as I went into this cave and I faced these things, it became obvious how these things had an effect on who I am today. Okay? So the cave is probably one of the most important parts of facing and changing yourself, especially with addiction. Okay? So as you go into the cave, I wouldn't recommend going in there right off the bat. There's a lot of crazy stuff in there, especially if you're somebody like me, okay? So you go inside the cave and you see things and you will experience things, and a lot of times you're probably going to want to stop meditating because it gets pretty intense. What you have to remember is this isn't a fantasy in your mind, okay? You've constructed a land and told your subconscious mind where to place pieces of information, and as you go into those different areas and interact with the different beings in your land, you are in direct communication with your subconscious mind. So, what I've taught you is probably one of the most powerful concepts of meditation, is how to interact with your subconscious mind. I said earlier that symbols are a huge way that the subconscious mind interacts with you, okay? When you have a dream and you wake up and you think that was a bizarre dream and you want to find out what it means, don't go to a book that says how to interpret your dreams, because your subconscious mind is using symbols that are embedded in you. It's not using symbols that came from a book that some mystic decided to write to make money. When you see symbolism in your dreams, these are symbols that your subconscious mind understands that you know how to interpret. And whether you want to interpret or not is a different story. So as you begin to understand that the symbolism is the interface with your subconscious mind, well, that's just it. That's the doorway to